welcome back to Normskitv. We spoke yesterday about Arsenal and the club accepting this 12.5% pay cut, and it was also mentioned that there was 3 players that didn't take or accept the actual pay cut. And I kind of mentioned yesterday in my post that to put it in the comments who you think it was. I kind of sort of muted Mesut Ozil, and would you believe it, today in the papers and all over the media, social media, Mesut Ozil has refused to take the 12.5% pay cut that Arsenal have offered to him. The guy's on £350,000 a week, money that most people wouldn't see in a lifetime. Ordinary people, shall I say. He's on £350,000 a week. That's not to include any endorsements that he gets, any sponsor deals or stuff like that. So this is just Mesut Ozil getting £350,000 from Arsenal Football Club. Now, again, the jury's out on this, because reading in the papers and reading online and so on, some people are for him, some people are slating him, the likes of Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, even Piers Morgan on this morning came out and ripped into him, basically saying that, who does this guy think he is? Slating him for playing on Fortnite, and why can't he take this 12.5% pay cut? He ain't gonna miss it. It's just a drop in the ocean for him. But it's Mesut Ozil, and the Arsenal fan base are very much, how could I put it? They're very much, some people are for him, and some people are not for him, and so this is going to obviously rumble on. And just reading on the Metro, it says Arsenal star Mesut Ozil is willing, well, first of all, he said he's not willing to take this 12.5% pay cut, because he basically wants to see how this all pans out. He came out and said that before he takes this, and I think this is really pushed by his agent as well, because his agent came out a few weeks ago and said that he's not happy about his client taking a wage cut or a wage deferral, and obviously his client is going to be benefiting from this. But yeah, he wants to really see how the club is going to progress, where the money is going to go, before he actually makes this decision. And I think for him, he might be thinking, am I going to make Champions League? Because they're saying if you make Champions League, then they'll get that money back. If they make Europa, they'll get 7.5% back. There's all these different, scenarios that are facing the players. Now, most of the players are sort of taking it, the likes of Saka, Martinelli, who are on pittance compared to Ozil, who's the highest paid earner in Arsenal. And they've gone ahead and done it. And I said there's only 3 players that have decided not to agree to this pay cut. So Ozil just wants some reassurance. He wants to know where's the money going to be spent in terms of when they do accept this pay cut. And it's I understand and I don't understand. Do you know what I mean? Looking at it, it doesn't look good for him in terms of his PR. Yeah, this has really messed him up in terms of his PR. I know the guy gives to charity. He was give like £2 to £3 million a year, to charity. And some people would say that's just a tax, avoidance there. So, he'll probably see that money back anyway. But he is a generous guy, but it doesn't look good when your main man, who's on £350,000 a week, is, rejecting this offer. And so loads of people have come out and really have slated him. And I kind of guess it would probably be Ozil, because I said earlier on, a few weeks ago, his agent had come out and was making, some noise about it. But then saying that, I don't know whether Mesut Ozil has made a U-turn, because I'm just reading here again on the Metro. It says Arsenal, I'm just going to read it. It says Arsenal star Mesut Ozil is willing to take a bigger pay reduction than his teammates once the club give him clearer or greater assurances about how the money will be used. It goes on to say that the German was one of the 3 players to refuse the club's request to take the 12-month pay cut of 12.5%. Okay, we know he's the highest paid earner in the club at £350,000 a week. That's what he's getting. And it's saying that, you know, because he's very generous in terms of his charity work, you know, he gives around £2 to £3 million a year to charities across the world. So it says it therefore came as a surprise that Ozil refused the request, particularly given the money that would be refunded if the club qualified for Champions League and partially reimbursed if they qualify for the Europa League. Right, sorry about that. My fingers just dropped. Excuses for that. So, you know, he's saying once I get some reassurance of how the money is going to be spent, then, you know, we can move forward. He goes on to say, however, ESPN claimed that Ozil's reason was that he felt there was a lack of communication from the club about the request, and that he felt the Gunners assumed all players would adhere without questions. Ozil wants assurances over how the money will be used and believed that it was a mistake not to consult with lawyers over the request. It goes on to say the German is willing to take a pay cut, and ESPN says he's ready to give more than his teammates who gave up 12.5% of the salary. And goes on to say he wants to see proof about where the money will go and believes that more time needs to pass to see the true financial implications of the pandemic. And just to finish, Mikel Arteta is said to have led the calls for the players to take a pay cut, reminding them of the club's image in Britain. However, he did stress that any player that was unwilling to do so would not be treated differently. And so it is. And so it is with this situation with Mesut Ozil. You know, he's decided not to take the pay cut because he wants reassurances. Guys, what do you think? Do you think that he was wrong? Do you think he needs to know what's happening in terms of the finances and how the club is going forward? I mean, he may think that there's a possibility that he might not secure Champions League, yeah, and maybe the other 2 persons that have decided to defer on that as well are maybe thinking the same thing, because right now Arsenal are not in the position where there's a likelihood that they are going to finish in the Champions League place, and even the Europa as well, you know, is looking kind of iffy at the moment. So he wants reassurances, and at the end of the day, it's his decision. You know, he's not being forced. But I think really what doesn't look good is the image that he presents. Arsenal are a classy club, and for him to come out and say he wants reassurance, especially when you're on 350 G's a week, 12.5% of that, you know, the guy would be still earning something like, after that, I think £306,000 a week. Yeah, remember he's still getting endorsements. Remember he's getting endorsements from, you know, sponsors and whatnot. So why is he deferring on this? But it is his prerogative, and I think obviously his agent is pushing this as well. So it is what it is. He's decided that he needs more reassurances from the club, and the fact that if we're going to definitely finish in the Champions League, not even that, will the league be completed? That's the other question. Because he's saying, well, if I do defer this for 12 months, there's no guarantee that I'm going to get this money back that you're saying is going to be promised to me if we meet these criteria. So let's wait and see what happens. So that's it. Mesut Ozil has decided that he will not be taking the 12.5% until he's given further assurance. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that he's a mercenary, or do you think he has that right to see what the club's future is going to be like post COVID-19? We don't know what the future holds, but let's see what happens. Let's talk about some other transfer news, and let's go back to, I've been speaking about Thomas Partey, who plays for Atletico Madrid. Atletico have obviously responded to Arsenal having their interest in him, looking to try and the 43 million pound, trigger that 43.5 million. I think they're trying to trigger that clause in his contract, and it looks like Atletico Madrid are trying to fend that off by doubling his pay, where I think he was on something like 65,000 a week, and they will double that, so now he'll be on 130,000 a week, and also to up his buyout clause to 110 million euros. So they're pushing hard. At the moment, Thomas Partey hasn't yet signed the contract, and I know Mikel Arteta is desperate to get in a defensive midfielder. He's already gone to the board and said who he wants. He wants a defender, a defensive midfielder, and he also wants a attacking player. And Thomas Partey is definitely one that Arteta is looking at. And who knows? Will he get him? There was talk about Lacazette being part of the deal, swap deal. I don't know what's going to come of that. But Arsenal are looking to try and trigger these release clause and hopefully try and land this guy. It's going to be difficult because there's other clubs that are interested in him. So again, we'll just have to just wait and see. Let's see if Arsenal can move and try and get this player. And as I said, we have to sell before we can start buying. So there are a lot of players. I heard Arsenal are looking to get rid of 9 players at the club to generate funds in order for them to be able to buy those players in those positions, namely defensive midfielder and attacking player. So let's hope, pray God that we get this deal done, but I'm not holding any hopes out. I'll tell you that now. I'm not holding any hopes out. There is another. I was reading about another deal which concerns a guy defender that plays for Celtic. His name is if I can just pronounce it, Ajay. Let's just make sure I've got the right name. He's Norwegian. Christopher Ajer. That's Ajer. That's his surname. He's 22 years old. Norwegian defender that plays for Celtic. It looks like he's a home favourite player for Celtic. He came there when he was 18. I think he's played something like 18 caps for Norway. 6'6", so he's a big unit. But the question is he going to be ready? I'm not knocking Celtic or anything, but would he be ready to come and play in the Premier League? He's doing quite well. I know Leicester also interested in him as well. So it's said that Arsenal are interested in him. I don't know how far down the line they are, if they're in talks or whatever, but it's coming out that in the Sun that Arsenal are interested in this centre half. He's 22, so he's young. Not too sure of the price. It might be 25 mil, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's about 25 mil that he's worth. So he's 22. He's young. He's got his time on his side. But the problem is he going to be ready to play in the Premier League? Scottish Premier League. The Scottish Premier League is not as good as the Premier League, as we well know. And the teams that he's going to come up against are going to be more difficult. The attacking players that he's going to come up is going to be more difficult. But let me know. Do you think he would be something that we could potentially look at? We've got Kieran Tierney from there already. He hasn't hit the ground running as yet. For the little bit that we've seen of Kieran Tierney, he's going to be potentially a very good player. So let's see what happens with that and how we progress with that. We've got William Saliba to come back. I know we've been linked with other defenders that are even cheaper than this guy. If I can pronounce his name, Christopher Ajer. I know, we are looking at other defenders. Let me know what you think. Do you think he would be a good signing for us? And long and short of it is, going into this transfer market, is Arsenal going to have the money with all the things that they're doing in terms of the cutbacks in terms of the players' wages, the hierarchy, the executive, curtailing their money to, I think it's 30% for a whole year. What do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. What I'd like you to do as well is just please share, give me a thumbs up, put it again in the comments, and let me know. And please subscribe and let me know what you think. Listen, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.